Greetings, fellow SharePointers. This is Tom Robbins with ASPE, and welcome to my video blog post for this week. It's a follow-up on surveys. We'll talk about how to create and use surveys in SharePoint 2013. Okay, so I've opened up my SharePoint site here, and just cover first what we're going to do with the survey. This is just going to be a sample survey to determine SharePoint experience in your company. Maybe a survey you'd send out if you're in the process of deploying SharePoint. These are the questions we'll ask. So, do you have any experience with SharePoint? If you say no, we're going to jump straight to question 4 because 2 and 3 won't be applicable. What versions have you used? We're going to let that be some multiple choice. What are your favorite features of SharePoint? We'll use a rating scale for that. And then, would you like to be kept up to date on our SharePoint installation? We'll make that a yes or no, with yes being the default, so we can, so we can spam you. And then, what is your email address? And a couple settings we'll use. We use anonymous, which means users can complete the survey without knowing who you are. And then we'll allow users to complete the survey more than once. Okay, so here we are on my SharePoint site. Make sure you're in the right site, and then you're just going to add an app. The survey is just a special kind of list. So we'll just type in survey and search for survey, and then select survey, and I'll call this my experience survey. And we can click on advanced options if we want. This is where we can go ahead and determine if the results are anonymous. So show usernames and results, no, and allow multiple responses, yes. So we've addressed both of those configuration settings. And as soon as we click next, SharePoint immediately takes me in and lets me start creating the questions. So the first question was, do you have any experience with SharePoint? And excuse me, we'll make that a choice field. So yes or no. And we're going to require that response. And we'll just make this radio button, or sorry, a drop down menu. And instead of save, we'll just go to the next question. What versions of SharePoint do you have experience with? And better make sure to spell SharePoint correctly. And we'll make that a choice field as well. And we're going to require this one too. So let's go back as far as MOS 2007, SharePoint Server 2010, and SharePoint Server 2013. And we'll let this one be check boxes because you may have experience with previous versions of SharePoint, all 3 versions of SharePoint. So you let this be a checkbox. Next question was the rating scale. So please rate the following SharePoint features. So let's do a rating scale on this one. And of course we'll make this one required too. And then we'll just list all of the different features, or a few features. So lists, libraries, surveys, discussion boards, business intelligence. Just a few so you can see how this works. And then we can set the range of 1 to 10 or 1 to 5 or whatever. I think 5's enough. And then we'll say at the bottom end of the scale, don't like, it's okay, and love it. That'll be our scale. And then we'll do an NA if you want people to be able to say that they don't have any, it's not applicable for each of those items. Next question, would you like to be kept up to date on the progress of our SharePoint installation? Something like that. We'll make this one a yes, no, and we'll make it a yes by default. Okay, that way if you don't change anything, we'll be able to send you emails. And then finally, please provide your email address and make that a single line of text. We won't make the email address required. And then I'll just click finish. So now, where we normally would see the columns for a list, we see each of the individual questions. And the only thing left to do before we test it out is go back and put in some branching logic for this first question. So if you have no experience with SharePoint, we're just going to jump straight to this question asking you whether you'd like to be kept up to date on the progress. So to do branching logic, we simply click on the question we want to give branching logic to. And now that the question's been created, there will be options for branching logic. So if you say no to do you have any experience with SharePoint, we're going to jump straight to would you like to be kept up to date on the progress. Okay, so that's how simple it is to create the questions. We used a couple of different options, choice fields, rating scale, a yes, no, single line of text. And now just click on the experience survey and we can go ahead and respond to this survey. So because the first question has to be answered before any other questions can be shown, we'll go ahead and answer the first question. Do you have any experience with SharePoint? Yes, I do. Click on next. And so now we can choose the options of SharePoint, or the versions of SharePoint we have experience with. Notice now in the rating scale we have the different SharePoint features listed from don't like to love it. Of course, I love them all. And yes, I'd be like to be kept up to date, and I'm Tom at mastersharepoint.com. Click finish. That's how easy it is to create and respond to a survey. You can also click on these two links here to see the survey results. As people are filling out your survey, you'll be able to see the results. Okay, and you can also switch back over here on the right. We can change the view back to the overview. Okay, we can also see all responses by clicking this link. Okay, so those are that's the only response we've had to the survey so far. And you can also export your survey results to Excel if you'd like to do further analysis.